and welcome to the March 2022 Ordinary Meeting of Council, of Murrumbidgee Council. In the spirit of open, accessible and transparent government, and to ensure this meeting is open to the public, this council meeting is being recorded and live streamed to the Murrumbidgee Council Facebook page. A recording will also be placed on the council's website following the meeting. I'll ask for any apologies, please.
Councillor Gilbert.
Okay. Any further apologies? No. Somebody like to move? Move Councillor Black, seconded Councillor Major. Those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Those against, carried. Thank you. I will move to the confirmation of the minutes of the ordinary council meeting on the 22nd of February 2022. Somebody like to move? Move Councillor Bryce, seconded Councillor Churglin. Those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Those against, carried. Thank you. I'll remind you of your pecuniary interest declarations. I have one here from Councillor Black. Are there any further declarations? No? Okay. We move to no notices of rescission, no notices of motion, and I will move to the mayoral report.
Webcast, have you mentioned that?
Sorry?
Webcasting?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
You really are sick, bro.
Sorry, I apologise.
That's okay. I actually was lucky enough to have 10 days away since our last meeting. So Councillor Black stepped up and attended some of the meetings for me. John covered some of the meetings for me. But this is still a record of what has been happening to the best of my knowledge. I just mentioned the employment of Gary Stoll to our council team. The departure of Sam Starr and thanking her for a contribution. Unfortunately, due to the ongoing COVID-19 issues, we did not attend the Local Government New South Wales Conference in Sydney, and we didn't attend the Country Mayor's meeting either in Sydney. We had two motions submitted for consideration, and they were spoken to and tabled, so that was good. We held the first of our business barbecues after our council meeting in Darlington Point last month, and the second one will be after our council meeting today here in Murrumbidgee. There's been a community engagement roadshow regarding the Sidland projects in the Enco Billabong Creek that happened in the last month. The Ramjo board meeting was here in Murrumbidgee, and Councillor Matt Hannam from Berrigan was elected as chair, and Councillor Pat Burke from Federation was elected as deputy chair. There was a meeting convened by Helen Dalton's office with the general manager, Councillor Black, and some concerned Coleambally citizens. They have concerns in Coleambally, as we all do, but they're particularly concerned around health delivery, aged care, community nursing, early childhood nursing, Broad Place redevelopment, the Coleambally Lake project, the CHSP, community transport, Coleambally Central School, etc., and ambulance. So they just wanted a closer focus brought to some of the issues that are occurring in Coleambally. The National Resilience and Recovery Agency held an information session in Coleambally on the 10th of March. My feedback is that it was well attended and some valuable insight was provided to those who attended. Mental health evening sport and life training session was convened on the 8th of March at the football club here, which also was well attended and had some very positive feedback. The Active Farmers Games were held in Coleambally on the 12th of March, and to the best of my knowledge and feedback, that was well attended and an enjoyable time had by all. Our skate parks and pump tracks are a hive of activity. The lake is full of water here, which is good. Very necessary roadworks are being undertaken. Our revitalisation projects are nearing completion, and our major projects continue to move towards completion. Those being the Coleambally Sports Precinct, Ben Cubbon Avenue, and the Murrumbidgee Early Learning Centre. And they're just a list of meetings that I had attended. Is there any questions or comment from that report? No? Again, thank you to Councillor Black for filling in for me while I was away. Somebody like to move, please. Moved Councillor Curfew, seconded Councillor Bryce. Those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Those against, carried. Thank you. We'll move on to item 2, please.
Thank you, Councillor McRae. General Manager's report. As usual, the first item's been the COVID-19 and our action plan. We're just following the health orders and the Splinter Award. The Splinter Award is due to expire on the 8th of April, so it won't be governing our plan after that. I haven't heard of any requests to extend that or to reissue the Splinter Award for the coming 12 months or not. So we had a short period there with the staff interacting with the public and wearing masks. It's been removed. It's up to the public, up to the staff to use their discretion and where they can. We finalised the consultation of the vaccination policy, specifically relating to the mandatory vaccination for the COVID-19. We received 4 responses. One was strongly in support. Two were fully vaccinated staff members and just questioned some administrative burdens and stating that they weren't feeling vulnerable if they worked with unvaccinated people. And we had one strongly opposed to the implementation of the policy. Whilst everything within what was agreed with individuals' choice and themes in relation to that, we're just seeing that an approach to having a mandatory vaccination is possibly still the way to go with the virus still very prevalent in society at the moment and taking staff out quite regularly. We've still got staff out at the moment underneath the protocols, whether it's their kids, their grandkids, or themselves, that have pushed them to the sidelines in the most recent weeks because of the variant. Thankfully, everybody is coming back well. And in relation to the policy also, and the next item that we're going to consider for council is the risk appetite, that the appetite for health and safety is to avoid where we can, and this policy certainly assists in us avoiding any health and safety issues going forward. The risk appetite, as I just mentioned, with all the overall themes of the risk ratings that were workshopped by council to bring forth for council to determine. We will, once adopted those the risk appetite strategies, I will complete the draft enterprise risk management plan for council's consideration, and then work on to all the other policies and all the other things that associate with that in relation to our risks as an organisation. Councillor McRae has already mentioned Councillor Hannon and Councillor Burke as the Mayor and the Deputy, as Chair and Deputy Chair of Ramjo. I've attached the minutes for Council to review and have any questions. One of the highlights from there in the minutes is there was a review of the JO, in particularly when the joint organisations are a creature of the state government. They gave some seed funding to start the operation, but ever since they haven't provided any funds to the continued operation of the JO. Not dissimilar to the region, the rocks that were in their place beforehand. The JOs. So we've amended the budget to meet the membership contributions, and that will be the way that we move forward. And any other opportunities with either shared services or auspicing grants for the area and everything else like that will be taken on and administered, because it'll come with the resources to do those things as well. We had a Murrumbidgee Local Health District update. Apart from the COVID, which we won't mention anymore, one of the biggest pushes there that they wanted us to all to be aware was the Japanese encephalitis, the confirmed cases, and there's been more confirmed cases since I've written this report. So one of the things is for everybody to be well aware that we're in an area where the mosquitoes could be distributing Japanese encephalitis to humans, and just to be aware. And I was going to say slip, slop, slap, but that's sunscreen. That's not mosquito repellent or anything else like that. So that was the strong push for everybody to be aware, for everybody to be vigilant on where there's water pooling around their homes or around their areas, to make sure that they empty it out to stop the breeding cycle of those. Put in here for everybody to set aside on our workshop time at 10 a.m. on the 26th of April will be our initial run at the budget, first presented to council. So it'll be a couple of hours there, which should pose questions for us to take away before we bring the second iteration to council and before it's finally adopted. For a while now, the excess annual leave policy has gone through the consultative committee. It's been to council. It's been presented back to the current council in its finalised form before coming forth to be adopted by council. So in short, the excess annual leave policy is driven by an external audit request to reduce the amount of leave balances. In the award, it states around about 8 weeks worth of leave is the upper limit, and anything after that they'd be looking to reduce those balances. So this, you've got to think that some of the to get some of the leave balances there has been quite a number of years, considering there's only 4 weeks a year that gets accrued into the leave. So the policy does a couple of things. It gives us an indication where we can start to reduce the leave incrementally over time, but also not disadvantage the organisation in having staff members away for extended periods of time and needing to find a way to backfill their jobs that they've got, so we can still keep have the measured approach moving forward. Just in the movements, council's aware, the induction training tomorrow and the next day in Darlington Point. I'm running away to Queensland for 2 weeks. The mayor came back rejuvenated from her 10 days, so I thought I'd go away for 10 days as well. Newell Highway Task Force Committee will be in Coonabarabran and most likely online as well. Ramjo board meetings, one thing you would see in the minutes that the board meetings are going on a tour. They're going to start meeting in each of the councils every quarter to get that interface with the elected representatives and with the communities that are represented throughout the Ramjo region, and then the Australian Local Government Association annual meeting is in Canberra on the 19th to the 23rd of June. So just moving forward, recommendations from the report is that council, the contents of the General Manager's monthly report be noted, and council adopt the COVID-19 vaccination policy, adopt the risk appetite statements directing the GM to complete the draft enterprise risk management plan for council consideration, and adopt the excess annual leave policy. Any questions? Councillor McRae?
Any questions? No, would somebody like to move? Moved Councillor Saxey, seconded Councillor Tim. Councillor Tim Strong. I'll put that. Those in favour, please say aye. Those against, carried. Thank you. Item number 3, please. Vicky.
Thank you, councillors. I'll present a request to make application for an additional special rate variation that the Office of Local Government have advised they will take until April. Back last year you adopted an operational plan and a delivery program which indicated that the rate increase for 22-23 would be 3%. This application here allows council to apply for a special rate variation up to 2.5% as a consequence of the setting of the 0.7% back in November. The Office of Local Government and IPART have recognised that there's not sufficient time. Possibly very few councils would have indicated that the increase limit would be at 0.7% and that there is not 0.07, so, and that the probability of making a special rate variation in its normal form, we weren't given enough time for that. In making the application, we are required to request the amount of money that we would, the amount of the application, the size of the application, the amount of money that will generate, why the special variation is required. In this case, we're saying that the special variation that we're perhaps looking for will cover at least the increased cost of salaries and wages for the workforce under the award provision variation from the 1st of July, together with the increase in superannuation guaranteed levy, and that we actually have considered the variation.
The cap was capped at 0.7%.
I guess.
Or the formula, how they.
The formula for is set by IPART under what they call the local government cost index basket. I don't understand how it can get to 0.07%. I'm not sure that many can. The determination by IPART was prior to November also. So it takes, like, from when you look at the ABS and their CPI increase, they take a basket of goods that they look at. One of those costs within there is also the local cost of local government elections. Of course, they took out, I think, something like 0.02%, because there wouldn't be one next year.
So you're saying they already factored that in at 0.2%, roughly?
Well, they basically reduced that. They did change the way in the past. It's been a set rate across the board. Lots of larger councils with increasing populations had lobbied. So they varied the way that they look at this, and with a population increase variation. So some of those bigger city councils or coastal councils have an increase in population. So they now set it that each individual council has a different variation rate. Those variations, and if you don't have a population increase, it wouldn't actually decrease, it would be set. So the lowest level was 0.07, and the increases on individual councils were up to 5%.
Depending on the growth
Depending on their growth rate.
Yeah.
So basically they're saying, well, the basic local government index rate is at 0.07.
0.7.
0.7.
0.7, sorry.
Sound like James Bond. Okay, are there any further questions of Vicky, please?
Just the point where they say their councils are not required to demonstrate community consultation. Will that consultation only be done basically online through the IPNR, or?
No, in the past, to apply for a special rate variation, you had to actually show as part of your application process what you'd undertaken in community consultation. This is such a short turnaround process that there's not that ability. They do expect council to undertake community consultation in the 3 weeks, basically up until from the time you determine this at a meeting this month and the time that the applications are in. They don't expect us to provide the same amount of information to them on the application process. So in the past, we would have had to list all the meetings we would have had, how many people were there, what sort of results. I anticipate that won't be required, but they will expect us to undertake community consultation in some form.
So how do we propose to do that, Vicky?
Well, I guess I'll be speaking with Anne, and
Yep.
we'll get some Facebook, and we're also, as much as we can, some information out to residents and ratepayers in the short amount of time that we'll have.
Okay. Are there any further questions?
Yeah, I just got one more.
Councillor Major?
So for the 22-23 budget that was agreed upon last year, 3% rate increase. So that was so there was no profit or loss on that. That was break even.
In terms of the profit and loss, we endeavour to show a surplus of operational income and expenditure. That's one of the indexes that the local government uses in terms of cash flow, so how much we use and how much we deplete. It was a deficit of funds that we have available.
Okay.
Yep.
We're fine. Okay. There are no further questions. Would somebody like to move the recommendation, please? Councillor Black, seconded Councillor Sherburne.
Only because I feel sick.
And the recommendation will read, the council make application for an additional service variation of 2.5% under the section 5082 of the Act, and 1, that this application be a permanent special variation under section 5082 of the Act, and 2, the additional income the council will receive if the special variation is approved will amount to $148,195, including catch-up amount of $36,555. And 3, the special variation is required to cover at least the increased cost of its workforce, which are prescribed as award and superannuation guarantee levy increases from the 1st of July 2022. And 4, that council has considered the impact on ratepayers in the community for 2022-23 and future years if the special variation is approved, and that it considers that the requested variation application is reasonable. I'll put the recommendation. Those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Those against? Carried. Okay. Item 4, please. Item 4 is just the minutes from the Central Korea Community Centre Annual General Meeting and General Meeting. There for noting.
Troy, got anything to comment?
Well, hang on, I was getting to that.
I thought you were moving
It's
on.
good to have help at the table. Troy, is there any comment you would like to make regarding this annual general meeting and their finances?
Yeah, there is. So we wish to do some upgrades out there at the hall, but there doesn't seem to be a clear process how that occurs and how that can happen. So we want to improve the acoustics. Obviously, we've got some money there. We want to get a grant as well. So, but it's not a clear pathway.
No.
So I guess that's what I want to bring to council's attention. How can we get that process working more simplified and working, I guess? Is there a simple form that can be developed to fill out, or because we're pretty proactive little community and keen to, if we have something inside the hall, we want to be able to hear each other talk a little bit better than what we currently do.
What I was going to say is that I'll attach Tom just there to come down to the hall and have a meeting with you guys and just sort of walk through those things, and you can take down all the details and see where we can end up from there. That's probably the step number 1, to engage with Tom.
Yeah, I did talk to Tom once, and before I was councillor, and we didn't seem to have a clear pathway, did we? It was a little bit ambiguous with the sections, whatever they are.
Oh, the 335 committee.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll find out what the asset needs and what's
Right.
required and things like that first, without worrying about what the 355 can do.
And then
or
put in the
can't do.
budget for next year,
And then-
maybe.
and
Well, it
then-
doesn't really need to go in the budget. That's the point, mate.
Yeah.
But we want to be in a position, shovel ready or whatever, ready to get the stuff so we can apply for a grant to match our funds. Right.
Just for clarification, Vicky, is there an annual vote for maintenance for, like, the Central Quarry Hall, for example?
We have an annual maintenance quote for the public halls as a whole. We don't
Okay.
individualise those.
So I guess,
across the
Troy,
council areas.
the thing to do would be to get your committee together and make a list of what you think prioritised, what you think are the most important things to happen. And when you meet with Tom, he'll be able to show you the correct and due process to move forward with. And then we will be ready to avail ourselves of any opportunistic money.
Right.
Okay?
And a secondary question is the fence, the tennis court fence was due to be fixed by the end of this month. Is that right?
What's the matter with it?
It's an insurance job.
Oh, right, okay.
Oh, well, it's under our. The contractor has been engaged. Same contractor that did the glass panels. His indication was that we'll be able to get to that job until March, so we can chase that up where he's at. It actually fits under our insurance scheme limit, so it's a repair.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's a few keen tennis players want to have a hit.
So it will fit under our insurance umbrella and the contractor has been engaged.
The contractor has been engaged.
Okay.
That was all.
Okay. Troy, would you like to move?
Yep.
Move Councillor Major, seconded Councillor Bryce. Those in favour, please say aye. Those against, carried. Thank you. Item 5, please.
Councillors, the monthly cash and investment report as at the 28th of February 2022 shows total cash and investments of 28,753,000. Same cash at the bank amount of 3,572,000. Investments totaling 25,180,000. The second page of that report gives you a representation of where that cash sits. So basically on the bottom of the page where we say represented by are the restricted and unrestricted funds of the council, and it indicates general fund amount of 4,079,000 at a given point in time.
Okay, thank you, Vicky. Are there any questions for Vicky, please? No. If not, would somebody like to move? I'm missing a page here. Sorry. Somebody like to move, please, Vicky's report. Move Councillor Bryce, seconded Councillor Jurgwin. And the recommendation will read, the council note the monthly cash and investment report containing the bank balances and schedule of investments as at the 28th of February 2022. Those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Those against? Carried. Thank you. Item 6, please.
It's confidential and it's
Well, somebody like to recommend we move into confidence? Move Councillor Blake, seconded Councillor Turkey. Those in favour, please say aye. Those against? Carried.
shut this down.
Item 6 is the sale of Colliamberley residential land, Blue Bonnet Crescent, Colliamberley. The recommendation will read that resolved on the motion of Councillors Major and Strawn, the council sell a section of lot 534 in DP 10971168 to the purchaser as identified in accordance with the terms and conditions as set out within this report. I'll put the recommendation. Those in favour, please say aye. Those against? Carried. Thank you. And that concludes our council meeting today. Heidi, that's not actually here, still Strawn.
I was just about to say, if you think